All right, let's go to a situation in Portland, and we know the great Dame Lillard, and a report, Rob, that and I don't know if you saw the pushback that Chauncey Billups, the hiring of Chauncey Billups as the Portland Trailblazers head coach.
It has been bonkers, is what I'm going to call it. Bonkers.
A lot of pushback.
Like, wow.
And so, for those that don't know, in 1997, well, in 2000, I believe, Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong on the timing. In 2000, Chauncey settled a dispute where it was alleged that he and two other, Antoine Walker, and who was the third Boston Celtics player, but that who was he say was the third? Ron Mercer, that they sexually assaulted a woman, and they settled, or at least I assume they all did, but Chauncey settled 3 years later. It was in 1997 that the alleged situation took place. And so when he's hired, and obviously, Rob, that news was not really, you know what I mean? Like was that ever brought up when he was in Detroit?
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to sit here and tell you no.
Yeah, that was really quiet, kept quiet.
I never knew anything about it, Chris. And I covered Chauncey, and I was there in Detroit and everything. And
it was there was never anything brought up about that. And when he was hired this past weekend by the Portland Trailblazers, a lot of fans have really not only been upset about the hiring and, questioned the Trailblazers' decision, but they've also gone at Damian Lillard and blamed him to a large degree because everybody knows is this franchise player that, not that he hired Billups, but that
he could have stopped.
Yeah, obviously they ran it by him, and Rob G, reportedly he was in the Zoom interview, right? And so they really went at Dame hard. And our Chris Haynes, friend of the show, Fox Sports 1 analyst, he wrote that the backlash the enormous backlash, actually, of the fans in Portland blaming Damian Lillard, combined with the fact that once again they're out early in the playoffs and it just seems like they can't put together a contender. Those two things are making it a real possibility that Damian Lillard wants out of Portland.
I wonder who's the source on this. I'm sorry.
Right. I know. I hear you. But what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I'm going to push back, and not because I know Chauncey, Chris, and I enjoy covering him. He's a great basketball player. He played great for the Pistons during their run when they were going to the Eastern Conference Finals and all that, and he was a great guy to talk to and all that.
Of course. Yep.
So that's not what I'm talking about. My issue is if Chauncey Billups is persona non grata and not fit to be hired in the NBA because of this, he should have never been a Clippers assistant coach. He should have never been offered the Cavaliers general manager job.
President, I believe.
President of the... Where, Chris? It can't be. Do you understand what I'm saying? I totally understand. You can't be an assistant. They say, well, you could be an assistant, but you can't be a head coach. No, if you're unhireable because of this past transgression, he shouldn't be working in the NBA at all, Chris, at all. So it's hard for me after the fact to now say he shouldn't get the job or they should back out of it. I'm sorry. I got an issue with it.
No, I'm with you. And look, the alleged incident, what was alleged to have happened was horrible. But, it was her story. We're not making excuses for it, right? I know. Right. It was just a mess. But I agree with you. It was 24 years ago, and in the 1 year since he settled, like you said, there hasn't been a whisper about it. When he was praised as a player, there was no whisper about it.
Nothing. Chris, they would have wrote that in the finals in 2004. Did you write that? Nobody wrote it.
It's not been made a big deal. And this is not to belittle anything that allegedly went down.
Exactly.
But again, you hit on the head, Rob. Why people are jumping on Damian Lillard?
Right.
Well, are they jumping on Ty Lue for having Chauncey on his staff?
Hello?
Are they jumping on Steve Ballmer for hiring Chauncey?
Right.
And I don't think they should be. But I'm just saying, like, now all of a sudden, and Jason Kidd was hired in Dallas.
He has a
history of domestic violence
with his wife, Chris. With his ex-wife now or whatever.
Ex-wife now,
right? He had a situation with his,
and things seem to be fine. But that's the point. Like, there's been nothing about him, not to this level. And so bottom line, Rob, I agree with you. If he can work in the NBA as a ball boy, then he can work in the NBA as a head coach.
Right.
If he can work in the NBA as a Los Angeles Clippers broadcaster or assistant coach, or the president of the Cleveland Cavaliers, why can't he be a coach, a head coach? So I just think, it's just very much inconsistent. And then to drag Damian Lillard in there. I mean, come on. I'm going to say this, and obviously, I mean, Rob, you said it. You like Chauncey. I like Chauncey. Most people around the NBA like Chauncey. He's been a great leader. He had a great career.
Yep.
He deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, Ty Lue is the main, brain behind the Clippers coaching staff. But Chauncey deserves a lot of credit for what he's done there. And so to jump on Dame, and Dame hit it on the head with a tweet about, I'm sorry when I was 7 or 8 years old that I wasn't reading all the news clips. Like I didn't even know about this. You know what I mean? And people are jumping on him. And so I just think it's wrong of them to drag him in there. But let me say this. I think with Dame, as far as Portland, I believe Robbie's taking the next few weeks to figure out what he wants to do. And, he's obviously been outspoken about being loyal to a franchise and not joining super teams. And I'm not so sure, and this is from talking to people around the situation, I'm not so sure he's gotten over the super team thing. Like, I don't know that he wants to just go join a super team. But I do think he wants to be in a position where they have a chance to win the championship. And I think he deserves it. And I think, Rob, some of it, obviously he wants to win for himself. He's competitive. But some of it, Robin, you've seen this with guys over the years. I'm sure you agree with me that Damian Lillard thinks he's every bit as good as Steph Curry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I know he has nothing but respect for Steph. But
anybody in the league, I mean, when you're on that level and you're making sure,
right,
yes, right. You're like, he's not better than me. I mean,
right.
People
and it's not disrespectful.
That.
It's just he's on that level, and that's what he feels like. Right. And he's looking at it, and Steph is going to go down as the second greatest point guard ever. At least right now, that's what people are saying. Dame, where's he? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't hear him in the top 10 all-time point guards and discussion and all that. And largely, Rob, is because of the winning or the lack thereof. And so Dame is like, and I think LeBron came to, LeBron was still being called, obviously, a great all-time player. But he also knew, Rob, he would not be viewed as, in the GOAT conversation or all-time great unless he won rings. Kevin Durant knew he had to win rings. Can you imagine if Kevin Durant did not have a championship at this point? He would be getting ripped, as great as he is.
And we both said LeBron would have won if he stuck it out, but he was so afraid that he would wind up, and I say this not ripping Charles Barkley, he didn't want to be Charles Barkley. Like he feared it. You know what I mean? Like being a great player who didn't win.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I think that's why when he decided, okay, I need to make a move here. But Damian Lillard, I mean, you got to figure it out. I think
I'm not blaming him if he goes to Neil O'Shea, the GM, and says, look, let's work on the trade.
If I'm Chauncey, I'm like, wow. Not only.
Well, see, I think you'll give Chauncey a year. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think there's a good chance he says, look, let's try it for a year, see what Chauncey does with us defensively, offensively. You know what I mean? Give him a shot and see what they can do.
I would hope so, to be honest, because that's a lot, right?
Yeah, if
to
you're
pull
Chauncey,
the plug on him. He just got there.
Right. That would be. And they're probably talking, don't you think?
And you know what's
I'm
funny?
sure
I remember this, Chris, too. when Joe Dumars took over the Pistons. What was the first thing that happened? Do you remember? Because Joe was like in the front office the first year, like learning. He wasn't making the moves.
Was that when Rick Carlisle?
Nope. No, it was a player. A player walked on him.
Grant. Yeah, Grant.
That was the first thing that happened in the Joe Dumars. And Absolutely. Joe, if you remember, wasn't mad, didn't make it like I'm not going to do a sign and trade, to let him get his maximum amount of money and all that. Because you remember, he got Ben Wallace as the cornerstone.
He did do a sign and trade.
No, right. I'm saying he didn't hold it against Grant. He got Ben Wallace in that trade. He got Ben Wallace and Chucky Atkins, if you remember, Chris.
Yep.
And that was the cornerstone, at least, of that run. So I'm saying
Ben is the first of that group to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I think Chauncey will get in.
You think so?
If you put Ben in, and no disrespect, but Chauncey, I think look, they all did different things, but Chauncey was the leader, obviously the leader. I think he was the best player on that team.
Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah. I mean, Rasheed. Look, I think it's interesting if Ben's in there. A lot of these guys might have arguments, so we'll see.